story begins with a group of soldiers arriving at a remote location. They were sent to deliver a set of car batteries to another unit stationed there. After unloading the equipment, they begin preparing for a mission, although the details are still unclear to them. While doing so, one of the soldiers, known as 81, spends some time joking with his younger brother, who also serves in the army. The two share a light moment before talking about the future in their military careers. Shortly afterward, 81 goes to check the engine of the vehicles while they continue talking. During the conversation, the younger brother speaks about his desire to be on a real battlefield and become an army ranger, exactly as they used to dream when they joined the armed forces. 81, however, admits that he no longer feels the same enthusiasm and is not sure if he wants to follow that path. After some insistence from his brother, he eventually gives in and agrees that they will pursue that goal together. But before anything else can happen, a sudden disaster strikes the location. Without warning, a delayed airstrike hits the area, catching the soldiers completely off guard and eliminating most of the unit in seconds. 81 is also struck by the explosion and loses consciousness from the impact. When he finally awakens, the area is silent and devastated. Looking around, he realizes that almost everyone has been killed, and among the wounded is his brother, barely clinging to life. The story then moves forward 2 years later, now at a ranger training facility in Colorado. At the base, a group of candidates suddenly receives an urgent order to move quickly to the induction hall. When they gather at the location, each recruit is given a small resealable plastic bag. They are instructed to place their identification, documents, rank insignia, and any personal belongings inside the bag. From that moment on, their identities are stripped away and replaced by designated numbers. During this process, the candidate we follow is chosen to serve as team leader. Shortly afterward, the instructors explain what awaits them. The candidates are about to begin an 8-week selection course, widely considered one of the most difficult military trainings in existence. Throughout the process, their physical endurance, mental strength, and emotional stability will be pushed far beyond their limits. The instructors explain that only those who survive the final phase will advance to a brutal 24-hour simulated operation known as the Death March. Completing that mission and crossing the finish line means earning the right to wear the Ranger Scroll, the beret, and become part of one of the most respected regiments in the United States Army. As soon as the training begins, the program quickly proves how intense it is. The candidates are subjected to exhausting drills and relentless challenges day after day. Among them, 81 stands out by pushing himself harder than most, refusing to slow down even when the strain becomes extreme. However, as the days pass, the pressure begins to take its toll. One by one, many of the trainees fail to keep up and are removed from the program, leaving only the most resilient participants. One night, some of the candidates begin talking about 81, quietly commenting on the tragedy involving his younger brother. While they talk, their attention is drawn to a nearby television broadcast. The report reveals that scientists have detected a mysterious object heading toward Earth, something they believe originated outside the solar system. Despite the strange news, life at the training base continues normally. The intense program moves forward, and the recruits maintain their demanding routine. During a lunch break, the subject of 81's brother comes up again, and one of the soldiers decides to ask him directly about it. Later that night, while 81 takes medication, one of his roommates watches him and becomes curious. The following morning, the two briefly discuss the matter before quickly returning to the daily training routine. As the selection process continues, the pressure only increases. More and more candidates are unable to proceed and are dismissed from the course, leaving only a small group of determined trainees. On one training day, 81 begins experiencing disturbing memories from the past, especially the moment involving his injured brother. For a brief moment, everything feels real, but it soon becomes clear that he was merely reliving it in a nightmare. A new day of exhausting exercises begins, and 81 continues forcing himself to endure the pain and fatigue. While facing one of the drills, he remembers the moment when he tried to carry his younger brother to safety after the attack. The memory overwhelms him completely. During the exercise, 81 collapses and loses consciousness in the water. But fortunately, the instructors pull him out quickly before the situation worsens. Still, the incident does not go unnoticed. One of the supervising officers observes everything and begins questioning whether 81 is mentally fit to continue in the program, as in their view he could become a risk to the team. Shortly afterward, 81 is summoned to a meeting in an office. Inside, Sergeant Torres and another senior officer present their decision. Based on what they observed, they recommend that he withdraw from the course immediately and state that, according to their assessment, his participation in the program has reached its end. 81 does not accept the decision easily, and when he begins to argue, the officers firmly order him to sit back down. He defends himself by saying that up to that moment, he has not failed any training exercise. The instructors acknowledge that his physical ability is not the problem and state that his performance is among the best they have ever seen. What truly concerns them is his mental state. According to the records, he has not been sleeping properly, and comments from other candidates indicate that he keeps his distance from the rest of the team. They also remind him that after the tragedy involving his brother, he should have attended at least 2 therapy sessions for evaluation. However, the records show that on the very morning he was discharged, he immediately applied for the rash selection program and has been submitting requests repeatedly ever since. When they ask why he is so determined, 81 simply responds that he just wants to reach the finish line. The officers tell him that what he is facing now is not the finish line, but only the beginning. They admit that he is one of the most promising candidates they have ever seen, but warn that if they officially remove him from the program, he may never get another chance to apply. Therefore, they suggest that he withdraw voluntarily and return when he is truly ready. To do so, he would only need to sign a document confirming that he is quitting of his own will. Even so, 81 refuses. The next day, the instructors begin calling out a list of numbers, and 81 hears his among them, which seems to indicate that he will be dismissed. However, an unexpected twist occurs. Those whose numbers were called are instructed to step forward, and instead of leaving, they are informed that they are the ones who will remain. With this surprising announcement, the remaining candidates discover that they have reached the final phase of training to become Army Rangers. Shortly afterward, they receive the details of the final simulated mission. The exercise consists of a reconnaissance and rescue operation. 2 Black Hawk helicopters will insert them into a drop zone deep inside enemy territory. From there, they must cross hostile terrain to locate a crashed aircraft and destroy it so that it does not fall into enemy hands. The second objective is to find a nearby rebel village where the downed pilot of the aircraft is supposedly being held prisoner. For the simulation, the rifles are equipped with blank firing adapters, and they are instructed that the use of live ammunition is not permitted. The one who will lead the team on this mission is none other than 81. With everything prepared, the intense final exercise, often called the Death March, officially begins. As the candidates depart to initiate the operation, one of the supervising officers watches the group closely with a suspicious look that suggests he may have other plans in mind. Not long after, the team finally reaches the drop zone where they were inserted. On the ground, they quickly reorganize and begin planning their movements. With time already running, they realize they have 23 hours and 30 minutes left to complete the mission. The squad advances deeper into the forest, moving cautiously through dense vegetation. When night finally arrives, they find a temporary place to rest. While the others try to recover their strength, 81 and another companion remain awake to guard the camp. The brief moment of calm does not last long. In the distance, the sudden sound of artillery shakes the area, waking everyone and putting the team back on alert. By morning, they manage to reach the location where they believe the crashed aircraft is. Following protocol, they attempt to contact base to report their progress and request further instructions. Unfortunately, the communication equipment cannot pick up a clear signal. Instead of a response, all they hear is strange interference cutting through the radio. With no way to speak to command, the team decides to continue the mission based on the last orders received. The soldiers spread out silently and take their positions, waiting for any sign of activity, but the area remains completely silent. When it seems that nothing is there, 81 notices something unusual in the distance. He signals for the others to proceed with the plan to destroy the crashed aircraft, while he goes to investigate the strange location alone. As he approaches, he realizes that something is very wrong, because what he is seeing clearly was not part of the training scenario. Upon recognizing the danger, 81 quickly tries to stop his team from detonating the aircraft, but it is already too late. The explosion occurs, and moments later, the ground begins to tremble. What they believe to be mere wreckage reveals something far more terrifying. A massive hidden spacecraft awakens and rises above them. Strange lights sweep across the area, as if the structure is scanning everything around it. Within seconds, the situation descends into chaos. A mysterious war machine emerges and begins attacking the soldiers. The team scatters, running through the forest in panic as they attempt to escape the overwhelming threat. The desperate retreat leads the group to the edge of a steep cliff. While trying to decide what to do, another powerful strike hits the area. The explosion throws the soldiers off balance and sends them over the edge of the cliff. For many of them, the fall proves fatal. After the fall, the few soldiers still able to move immediately begin helping those who are severely injured. As they try to regroup, 81 decides to climb back up the cliff to retrieve the communication radio in hopes of contacting base. Moving carefully through the area, he finds the soldier who was carrying the communication equipment, but unfortunately, the device is already destroyed and completely unusable. Before he can think of another solution, the massive war machine suddenly returns, scanning the crash site and eliminating anyone still alive. Realizing the danger, 81 quickly retreats and returns to the others. Meanwhile, one of the soldiers, 57, dies after losing too much blood from his injuries. When 81 reaches the group, he urgently explains what he saw and warns that the machine appears to be tracking them, possibly scanning their identities or biological signatures, so they must move immediately. The remaining soldiers depart as quickly as possible. One of 81's roommates is severely injured, so another companion carries him. However, before they can advance far, the war machine reappears. In a brutal moment, the soldier carrying the wounded man is eliminated, and the machine begins scanning the area in search of the rest of the squad. The survivors are detected and must fight desperately to survive. After managing to escape for the moment, the exhausted group finally finds a temporary place to stop. There they do their best to treat the wounded. Unfortunately, the previous fall destroyed most of the morphine they had, which means they must tend to severe injuries with almost no pain relief. After treating everyone as best as possible, the group moves forward again, hoping to find a safer location. The path leads them to a freezing waterfall blocking the route. Determined to keep the team moving, 81 volunteers to cross first, even knowing the water is dangerously cold. Struggling against the icy current, he manages to reach the other side and secures a rope so the rest of the team can cross. However, time is running out. As the war machine continues approaching their position, the others begin crossing, but the wounded soldier they were carrying becomes stuck in the middle. Without hesitation, 81 goes back to help him, once again risking his own safety. They manage to pull the soldier to safety, but the relief is short-lived. Moments later, the relentless machine catches up to them again and launches another devastating attack. During the chaos near the waterfall, 81 becomes trapped underwater, entangled in the rope they were using to cross. Realizing he may drown, he quickly cuts the rope and deliberately draws the war machine's attention to himself, hoping to give the others a chance to escape. After a tense struggle, the group manages to cross to the other side of the waterfall. When they regroup, they find one of their superior officers, who seems relieved to see that at least some of them survived. Without wasting time, the survivors continue advancing through the forest. Soon they reach the village that was supposed to be part of the rescue objective, but instead of finding allies or the captured pilot, they encounter a terrible scene as the entire camp has been exterminated. While trying to understand what happened, they hear a nearby sound. Upon investigating, they find the sergeant, but he is already dying from his wounds. The shocking discovery leaves the team trying to comprehend the situation. Recognizing the danger, 81 insists that they must leave immediately, but tension begins to rise within the group, and an intense argument breaks out. During the confrontation, 81 finally reveals the truth about his brother's death. He admits that he never felt like a hero because he collapsed just 18 kilometers from the perimeter, unable to complete the rescue. Despite the emotional moment, the team quickly returns to action and prepares a vehicle to flee the area. As soon as the vehicle is ready, they depart immediately. Suddenly, another strike hits the region. This time it lands farther away, but the explosion is enough to remind them that the threat remains very real. Knowing they can be attacked at any moment, the soldiers leave the village without wasting time. Unfortunately, their escape does not go unnoticed. The war machine detects them, and during the chaos, 15 is killed, while trying to deliver extra ammunition to his companions. What follows is a brutal fight for survival, as the machine unleashes its full power. Eventually, it manages to disable the vehicle, forcing the group off their planned route. A dangerous high-speed chase begins, leaving several soldiers severely injured along the way. In the middle of the chaos, 7 is thrown out of the vehicle, and shortly afterward, the vehicle finally overturns. After some time, 81 regains consciousness. When he looks around, the situation is devastating, as most of his companions appear to be dead. Determined to understand what happened, he searches the area and finds only a damaged portion of the machine. Then he hears something strange in the distance. Looking towards the sound, he notices that the war machine is still active and appears to be transmitting a signal into space, as if it is calling to something outside the solar system. To his surprise, 7 is still alive, barely able to remain conscious. At that moment, another scanning pulse sweeps through the area. Knowing they can be detected at any instant, 81 drags the wounded soldier away, desperately trying to find somewhere safe to hide. After moving for some time, the two are forced to stop and rest while the machine continues scanning the region. Watching from a distance, they notice something unusual. The machine periodically releases bursts of heat and steam, almost as if venting energy. Observing this pattern, 81 comes up with an idea. Acting quickly, he heads to a nearby construction site, determined to lure the machine there before it detects 7's location. Inside the unfinished structure, 81 begins setting up his risky plan. He deliberately makes noise to attract the machine's attention, successfully drawing it away from his wounded companion. Shortly afterward, the massive machine arrives and begins scanning the site in search of its target. What it does not realize is that the entire place has been turned into a trap. As it advances, the machine passes over construction explosives hidden throughout the site. At that exact moment, 81 appears driving a heavy tractor and uses it to push the machine into the desired position. A fierce battle between man and machine begins. 81 continues pressing the attack, forcing the machine against the explosives and causing severe damage. The system begins to overheat as sparks and flames erupt from its structure. Finally, the pressure becomes unbearable and the machine detonates in a massive explosion. But even in its final moments, it activates one last defense mechanism. As 81 approaches the wreckage, the machine releases a final burst of explosives into the flames, attempting to destroy everything around it. Realizing the danger, 81 turns and runs as fast as he can, yet the final explosion still catches him with the shockwave. Despite the impact, 81 manages to survive. Still refusing to give up, he lifts his wounded companion and carries him to the final checkpoint, determined to reach the finish line at any cost. Shortly afterward, the sergeant arrives and greets him, acknowledging what he has just accomplished. As medics begin treating his injuries, news reports start revealing a frightening update, as more of these war machines have been detected and humanity still has no clear way to stop them. Later, the sergeant approaches 81 and asks him to explain exactly how he managed to destroy one of the machines. After hearing the details, they officially recognize his achievement. Thus, 81 is finally recognized as a ranger. Not long afterward, he is invited to speak to a new group of recruits, sharing a few words based on his experience. When the speech ends, the mission does not remain idle for long. The team soon prepares to depart once again, this time for a real rescue operation.